Alright guys, got a Madden 13 video for you today. It's going to focus on the offensive line and defensive line interactions. Would like to take a second, have you guys please like this video. Trying to get 150, maybe 200 likes on this. Secondly, because this is such a detailed topic, I would certainly like to know your thoughts and opinions on it. Ask that you share them in a comment. And finally, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please take a moment to do that as well. I'm going to play this for you at speed and just as it runs, tell you that to me, the line interactions are the heart and soul of a football game, whether we're talking real life or video game. So until these problems are addressed and corrected, this game is going to suffer various realism issues, which I'm going to divulge in this video. Now, the core of this problem starts with the tackles, and we're going to take a look at the interaction here between Sam Baker and Jared Allen, starting of course on the left side. And the problem stems right here. When Jared Allen is met by Sam Baker takes a step to the left in order to engage with the defensive end. And as I go back and look at the pocket forming, both tackles do this, and what it does is it allows the defensive ends to create the angle in which the pocket is formed. And the problem then becomes, as the ball is snapped and my quarterback drops back, you can see these tackles are now 5 yards in the backfield, which means I'm no longer able to have my guards drop back and aid in helping a tackle who may be losing containment on that player. What this does is it allows the defensive end to rather readily clear the tackle to the outside and get a sack. The other problem this does, as we look to the right side, is it opens these massive lanes. And you can see here, what this allows me to do is throw a pass to an in route, to a slant route, basically unstoppably, because there's no defensive tackle there to swat the ball down. Now I realize there are certain situations where a tackle may want to do this on a delay, where you allow the defensive ends to rush themselves out of the play by again allowing them to create their angle. You don't want to do this when you're forming a pocket. And just to show you how flawed this truly is, I think no one would be able to argue the point that in football, X's and O's are drawn up for a reason. When you take a look at where the tight end lines up with the defensive end, when my right tackle goes out to engage with this defensive end, you can see he essentially transposes himself, albeit a yard back from the line of scrimmage, with the tight end's position. To me, that shows just how flawed these line interactions are. So I'm going to load up All Pro Football, and I'm going to show you how they do it just a little bit differently, but achieve much more realistic results and improved gameplay. Alright, here I am back with All Pro Football. Take a look at this for you at speed, and then we're going to go back and look at some of the key interaction differences in a very similar play that I think will show you just how much work and refinement Madden needs to do to their line to create maybe a little bit more realistic outcome to their plays. We come over here to the left side, we take a look at how my tackle is going to interact with this defensive end, and I want you to notice immediately as I remove these boxes, he holds his ground. Right here, you can see he does shift out a little bit, but then he steadies himself, anchors, and waits for the defensive end to come in contact with him. He's not walking out to make that contact. He's not deviating from his position to go out further to make that contact. And what this does right now is set up a scenario where the abilities of my linemen, the ratings of my linemen, control the outcome of this play much more than if he were to walk out and make that engagement with the defensive end. And now you can see the defensive end is the one that's pushing himself out of the play. When he cuts back under, because the pocket has formed much cleaner, it allows my halfback, who's actually on the other side of the field, to be able to come over and aid. Even though the ball's been thrown, you can see he would be able to aid in a block. Because again, my tackle has taken charge of the angle of formation of the pocket. When we go over and look at the other side, I realize there's going to be a slight difference here because my tight end is not lined up over the defensive end. But I want you to note the relation of their position on the field. When the ball is snapped, much like in Madden, my tight end is going to run down the field, and you can see that my tackle has not moved from his position. He is still relatively the same distance away from the line of scrimmage, yet he's walked directly back. not over like we saw in Madden. What this does is set up an ability to have double team blocking. Now my offensive tackle can become involved in this as well, and you basically get a much more realistic representation of a pocket. There is one other thing that I want to talk about. I want to talk about this gap because it's something we talked about in Madden. However, you can see it's not on both sides in this play. But I want to show you why this gap is created. This gap is not created because my tackles went out and met the defensive ends. This gap is created because of how this defensive end chose to rush this tackle. I can deal with that. I can understand that because, again, my offensive line is now in position to control the angle of how this pocket is formed. And like I said, you do not see it on this side because of the way the angles have changed and the way I have more offensive personnel over here. So what I want to do, just to put a cap on this video, is roll this up, and we're going to take a look at Madden and All-Pro Football and compare where the pocket is the moment the defensive ends touch the offensive tackles. Now, right there is where you see the first engagement. And I'm going to bring up Madden, and I just want you to note how far away from my quarterback and how far out of the pocket you see these tackles are in this game. And the reason is because they allow the defensive ends to control the angle at which the pocket is formed. And until we get something like this very small issue corrected, like I said, I think you're still going to see a lot of problems with these gaps in the line because they're not made by the defensive ends. They're made by the offensive line. And that's the problem when you start talking about fundamentals in football in the way line assignments are drawn up.